So, in regard to all of this that's been going on online, and my continuing theme of friendship online and forming online friendships, I was made aware yesterday that Tinkzy had print screened some comments that I'd made under a particular video, a reaction video, and she was, amusing herself with some of the comments I made about magazine covers and being a famous former model with regard to a certain Irish lady. Now, I'm not somebody who likes confrontation. I avoid confrontation as much as I possibly can. I try to be a happy-go-lucky person. There are days when I'm more withdrawn and don't want to associate and don't want to talk. And there are days when I'm more open and loving and affectionate. And I'm just like everybody else. I have my good days and my bad days. But with regard to you, Tinkzy, I don't mind that you find my comments quite amusing and, talking about friendship with certain people. And look, this is how I look at it. I got in contact with BAM because I wanted to find out about Claire Morgan. And BAM seemed to, at the time, have all the answers. And I'm not going to pretend that BAM wasn't good to me. BAM was good to me. She was a good friend to me. And the people in her channel were good to me. And like I've already said what I think about refunds, I'm not going to go over that again. As far as I'm concerned, the objective has been met. AD is no longer on the platform. He's now on Rumble. The Claire non-lawyer situation doesn't have to be talked about anymore because the objective has been met. I've never believed that AD and Frankie were ever going to meet in a courtroom. If I'm proven wrong later down the line, that's absolutely fine. As far as I'm concerned, the objective has been met. AD is no longer here. And we don't have to be in a back and forth when it comes to being on either side. I speak to people on both sides of the aisle. I speak to the Watts and I speak to the Shiners. And I'm right in the middle with my views. I can see things from both sides, just like with what's going on in Israel. I see things from the Palestinian side and I can see things from the Israeli side. I don't belong in any genre. I don't belong on any side. I don't want to be pigeonholed. I can be friends with anyone. And when it comes to friendship, I'm not looking for perfection because I know that I'm not perfect. Subsequently, Bam and I became extremely close. And we talked very often. And she was lovely to me. When she likes you, she's a wonderful person. And there's no getting away from that. I can't sit here and say to you that she wasn't good to me. She was very good to me. Now, what became a pursuit to find out what happened with the Claire Morgan situation, what happened with AD, soon became more than just about that. It turned into ego, and feeding the ego and who has a better house than who's hotter than who is more intelligent than who. And I have no interest in that. I don't care how people look. I don't befriend people because of how they look. I don't befriend people because of the qualifications that they have. I don't befriend people because they're associated with certain powerful and influential people. I befriend somebody because of the content of their character. If they're funny, if I jive with them, if we have things in common, then I can be friends with anyone. I don't care what people look like. Makes no difference to me what somebody looks like. But Bam is very focused on what people look like, what their qualifications are, and she's very focused on a certain narrative because she has an agenda. And that agenda is to cause some caused some issues for the Ruseks because of her disdain for them, which I do not share. Yes, I do not like what Frankie did with the crowd justice. I do not like what happened with the Claire non-lawyer situation. But at the end of the day, my only objective was to find out, get to the root cause of why AD was still around, why she was presented as a lawyer, and it subsequently we found out that she wasn't. That was my objective, and becoming friends with her was just a bonus to all of that. But I didn't need her for anything. I already had what I needed. So, things started out fine, and then it became about personal issues between people and how people look and what qualifications people have, and constantly using Shanann to go at them, because she has an agenda. And I'm not interested in, to me, this is all pointless now because AD is no longer here. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to get myself riled up over people that, quite frankly, this didn't happen to me. This didn't happen to my family. So why should I get over emotional and overly invested in something that is basically happening online? That's basically what I'm trying to say. So with regard to personal comments about her associations and her modeling and her this and that, she's always talking herself up, and she is always looking for someone to go after while talking herself up and sitting on her perch. And I'm just not that way inclined. I'm more of a mellow, laid back soul. And like I said, I don't care what people look like. It's not something that I would ever discuss online. Oh, she looks like this, or she looks like that, or she's, that is irrelevant to me. And I began to think that some of the conversations that were being had were descending into irrelevant topics, and we were moving far away from the Claire Morgan issue, which is what I was interested in. I also, and let me just pause here for thought, and I'll just say this before I get to a placid point. How many times did I hear that she had a major moral issue with Natasha and Zav for paywalling those photos that made the headlines? She was the first one to have her say about it. And did she go on and have a song and dance about that? She also credited herself for going to the press with that. But as soon as Natasha said something nice about her, her moral issue evaporated. No more issue with those photos, with the paywall. That's because she has an agenda. And yet she talks about how morally upstanding she is. And I thought, what a double standard. Here she is talking about MRB and how MRB makes money out of these cases, when Natasha does exactly the same thing, has been doing exactly the same thing. And she had a lot to say about the paywall of those photos. But as soon as Natasha said something nice about her, said nice things about her, suddenly, no more issue. Suddenly, Natasha was her friend and everyone was to welcome her. Now, I don't have a personal problem with Natasha. I've always been neutral on her. But isn't that something? She was the first person. In fact, she wanted credit for going to the press about those paywall photos. She made a song and dance about it till from here to kingdom come. And yet, as soon as Natasha said something nice about her, as soon as Natasha fed into her vanity, that moral issue evaporated for her. No more issue. Best friends. That tells me a lot about a person. So essentially what I'm saying is she is selective about what she's going to take issue with morally. It's all right for Natasha to make lots of money for covering cases. It's all right for AD, who she supports, but it's not all right for MRB. Now, why is that? The reason why she takes issue with MRB for making money out of the same cases that AD has made thousands out of, according to what she told me, is because MRB happens to be friends with the Rusex. That is what the problem is. It's not what she's covered. It's not the cases that she's covered. It's, look, I'm not saying that I'm a fan of MRB, but I don't have to dislike her either. And I'm not a fan of Natasha either, but I don't have to dislike her either. I'm very neutral on both of them. The things that I like about Natasha and the things that I don't like about her. Same with MRB. But if you're going to sit there criticizing MRB, but then you're going to say that you're going to support AD and be a star witness for him when he's made money, more money than MRB out of the same cases, well, that tells me that you're very selective about what you're going to take moral issue with. And I think that she is very selective. I think if you can feed her vanity, if she thinks that she can use you as some kind of ally, particularly against the Rusex, she's going to befriend you. I think that, look, my feelings about Claire, the non-lawyer, remains the same. I think she's, I can't really tell you what I think about her in words. I think she caused a lot of negative vibes in this community, and I'm glad that she's no longer around. My feelings about, Frankie's so-called case, same thing. None of those opinions of mine have changed fundamentally. My opinion of Claire still remains the same. And I don't support the Rusex in the way I did because of Claire and because they never came out and told the truth about her not being a lawyer. But at the same time, there's always somebody that Bam wants to go at. And I'm just not that type of person. I want no part of it. I want peace. And there's no point in thriving or trying to thrive on that level of angst anymore and going back and forth between the two sides, because everything is done now. AD is now a very lonely figure on Rumble who is trying to come up with a way. He's trying to find a narrative and a dialogue that's going to resonate with people so that he can build up his subscriber base or his following once again. And so he's trying all kinds of different things. And while I actually have had pleasant exchanges with AD by proxy, very pleasant exchanges, and I don't completely dislike the man, he's out of the way now. He's not going to be able to come back to YouTube with his 82,000 subscriber count and be doing the same thing like what he did. He may come back in another form, but it would have to be in another form. He's never going to come back as strong as he was. And this is somebody that's made lots of money from cases, and Bam supports him and says she's going to be his star witness. And yet he hasn't done anything different from what MRB's doing, but MRB's getting all the heat. And I strongly believe it's because MRB is or was friends with the Rusex. She just doesn't care for them. And I think that's the reason. That is really the reason. It's become her feelings towards them has become her obsession. And like I said, I disagree with many of the things that they've done regarding Claire. The crowd justice, I think, should be closed. People should be refunded. I agree with all of that. But I don't need to thrive on that level of negativity towards them. I don't. Especially now that AD is out the way. It's a pointless back and forth between the two sides. And like I said, it became more about her vanity and about her ego rather than the topic at hand. And I don't mind people getting upset and even having some kind of back and forth every now and again about certain things. I mean, I'm not a fan of Martin Dehan, and I'm more than happy to say so. And I'm not saying that people can't get upset, because I have been upset about the whole thing, the whole Claire thing, the non-luring stuff. But I don't. There's no need to be on that pathway, on that level of back and forth between the two sides. It doesn't need to go on forever. It should stop now. There's no need for it. She will probably continue with the back and forth and continue saying things about Val or whoever. And I'm not a fan of Val either. But, making those kind of comments, I think, are unnecessary, about what people look like. I think is unnecessary. I don't want to be part of that. It's not my style. I have a lot more class and a lot more dignity and a lot more integrity. And there's a lot of things about Bam that I do like. She's hilariously funny. She is very engaging. She's very easy to talk to. She's a good listener. And there's a lot of things I do like about her. However, I think the negative, or the darker side of her, is too overpowering at the moment. I mean, like I said, I made this video and she thought it was about her, and I wasn't even speaking about her. I was speaking in general about friendships we form online and how we shouldn't trust everybody that we meet online or even in real life. And she went after me for that for no reason. And that's my point. There's always somebody on her board that she's going to chop away, like a piece of, you've got a chicken, you cut off the leg and then you cut off another leg. There's always somebody on the chopping board for her, somebody to go at. And I'm just not interested in that. And there's more that I could tell you, and there might be more that I reveal later. But, she's very supportive of AD, and I think she wants people in her channel to support him. But I know for a fact some people in her channel don't support him and don't like him. And, claiming that she's going to be his star witness. And, I've heard the things that AD said about her, and AD wouldn't support her. But because of her dislike, because she unfavors the R's so much, she actually supports somebody like that. And, I think she expected me to support AD and be supportive of him. I'm not. I don't. I don't support him, but I actually, dealing with him one-on-one, he's been very pleasant. And I have no ill will or ill feeling towards AD anymore. I don't like what he does with cases, but he's off now. He's gone. Claire also seems to be gone. So there's no need to be on the back and forth anymore. I think she will continue. She will continue on the path that she's on, because she thrives off of that kind of vibe. But I don't. I want civility and peace. I like a bit of drama and a bit of gossip from time to time. Don't get me wrong. I'm no angel, but not to that level of just going at people constantly. It's just not my style. I want peace. I want harmony. Doesn't mean I have to be best friends with everyone. I'm not going to be friends with certain people that I stop being friends with. However, I don't feel the need to go at anybody either. I want peace. That's what I want. Peace. There's too much going on in the world right now for me to want to engage in that type of behavior.